and greetings from Finland. Thank you for joining this session. I see a lot of familiar names and very good to meet also the new people, so I hope you enjoy it. My name is Ksenia Avetisova, and I'm a very curious person with tons of questions. And given an opportunity, I really wanted to ask them to the people that I admire, to the professionals. So a few words about myself. I'm a head of Enhanced Reality Lab at TietoEVRY, and at the same time, I'm the founder of XR Women Nordic Initiative. And today, I'm joined by some of my favorite people and top professionals in the field of XR. And we are going to take you together on the exciting journey. I hope you already see it in our face masks. We wanted to make it a little bit more fun, afternoon session, a little bit more interactive. And please welcome, with me today here is Krista Jäntti and Elena Malakhatka. Say hello. Few words about the ladies. So Elena has a vast experience in sustainable engineering and business model innovation. And currently she's doing a PhD at KTH Living Lab in Stockholm. And also she's a founder of one of the biggest VR festivals, which is working in between science and art and business and technology, of course. And Krista has a very intense background, starting from cell biology, coding, and design. She has been drawn to VR instantaneously after trying it, and she has spent several years working on user experience in Varjo, which is a Finnish, one of the top world manufacturers of the headsets with human eye resolution. And this year, Krista has started a new adventure, beginning her own XR UX consultancy. So today, please feel free to drop us some questions in the chat or any comments. We have also asked a question in the very top of the chat in the session. Feel free to share your ideas and your opinion about the state of XR industry and the future you see for it. Well, we already discussed that Snapchat will be a serious business. We're using Snap Camera today, but we believe in future it will be much more than a fun filter. So let's start. Elena, I have a question for you. Can you please open up the world of immersive technology? Which one do you bet on to be most impactful? VR, mixed reality, augmented reality? Please tell us. Sound.
Oh no.
Sound. On and off. Jump out and back in, please. Like, then we do this. I asked the question for Krista. So we start, let's see, Elena, tell us something.
On and one.
Yes, on. Good. Go ahead, please.
So it's very important to understand that we have these technologies, they're very different and they have cons and pros and they have very specific applications. So I will go a little bit through each of it. Let's start with virtual reality. It's 100% immersion. It's 100% computer generated environment where we need to understand that it's very little of real reality and very much of let's call it fiction reality or artificial reality. It's very good for future planning, for scenario designing, for simulating something what not exist. If we talk about augmented reality or mixed reality, which is more like school of spatial computing, we need to align this digital layer with the physical world. So in the second kind of category of technology, we have very deep connection and relationship with the physical world, like augmenting some face mask for real people, augmenting some parts of the building for the development, augmenting some information or hidden layers. But it's a very different worlds, VR, which is completely simulated reality and a list of applications. And then the augmentation of the real world with understanding its physicality and interconnection between physical and digital layers.
Which one do you believe in the most, or is it both equally?
I think both equally needed. For example, if you do training of doctors, it's purely VR, great immersion. So we need to understand that it's not comparing orange and bananas, two different fruits, right? The same with this, both have their strong sides. Again, I mean, as far as I work with the buildings, I use both. For the future planning, I use virtual reality. For the working with the real buildings, I use mixed reality. So it's more ask the question, where is my project? Is it in presence or is it in the future? And then it might be a little diversification, which tool to use. But both tools are strong and useful.
Very good. Thank you very much, Elena. Good that the sound is back. Krista, I'd love to start asking also you a personal professional question, because you have such a great experience, which is mixed from science, IT, and design. So what is your view on the areas of life and work that immersive technology is going to affect the most?
In the area of work, well, there was a big discussion that now that we are stranded in our homes and we have to work from our homes. So is it a big time for VR now that you can actually have meetings in VR and workshops in VR? And yes, it's coming, but not the adaptation rate that we were expecting it to come. Like, still not seeing that people are buying the headsets and putting them on their head and yeah, let's have a meeting now. But it's slowly coming, more and more those apps that you collaborate in VR, because there are benefits. I have to say that when you're doing workshops, you are all together in virtual space, and that's a very powerful moment that you can actually do those sticky notes kind of play in virtual reality. You can't do that in online. So I think it's not coming as fast as we think, but definitely it's coming, and it's going to affect on the future of work.
What about the personal space? So in our everyday lives, like something, maybe shopping would be one example you have mentioned earlier. How do you see that progressing and being adopted?
Yeah, that's more about the augmented reality technology. So we can't go to shopping like we used to do. So I think the trend that you can virtually try on stuff at the comfort of your own home is actually growing. And of course, face tracking technology, which is I'm using at the moment, you can try on virtual stuff like virtual sunglasses or makeup or even shoes or furniture in the comfort of your own home. So that is actually going to change the retail a lot in the future, really. And it's already happening. You can even try tattoos before you actually go and shop virtually.
This is the only way that I can see tattoos on myself, because I can change them instead of committing to one. So that's an amazing example. Great, thanks for the intro and the warm-up. So since you have quite a lot of hands-on experience also with VR technology, I wonder if you can share with us a concrete example of initiative or application in XR, which would significantly improve human performance and provide this feeling of empowerment, and not a sci-fi type of level, but something which actually already exists and something that users already enjoy and use nowadays. Do you have any ideas about that you could share?
I think it's quite early to say about like real performance results discussion. I think it's really ongoing, like projects in almost all XR labs, including like Microsoft, IBM, like Apple, and many others. Facebook, Oculus for sure. Just a little like hint of what's going on in these labs. One of the interesting like human performance-oriented research is happening in IBM.
Elena, sound.
I don't understand why the sound is dropping. We can't hear you.
Out and back in.
Out and back in, and it fixes the...
Krista, maybe you can share your examples so far.
Yeah, myself, I believe in education in virtual reality. That, to me, it was actually a very powerful moment that I was in a virtual space together with someone who was in the other side of the world, and it still felt like we are there in the same room. And when that person showed me tools that you can use in virtual reality, like building blocks and building cupboards and tables and chairs and that, and I had the controllers in my hand and he had the controllers in his hand, and I just repeated everything what he did, and I learned so quickly, and it felt like, wow, the teacher is here, and at the same time, he's on the other side of the world. So I believe that's very, very empowering and a good way to go and learn.
Very interesting. So Elena, please share us what happens in the labs.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Good. So IBM, like a game lab, they kind of train sport and like movement in a new way. They already found that in VR, there is a new type of motoric because there is no gravity. And it's opened the whole spectrum of how to, as Krista said, how to learn faster and remember more, not only on the intellectual and mental level, also on the physical level. So it's ongoing research. We can't promise, we need to do research and validate, but it's already today first results which show that we can learn faster if we have a good, well-designed content, if it's designed like with all respect to cognitive science, not just fun roller coasters. It really might bring like efficiency of learning. It might bring new type of new ways we remember, not only mentally but physically. It's important to follow these labs to really kind of to understand that potential is here. We just need to continue like digging deeper in the sandbox.
Sounds great. So human imagination and creativity and also needs, it has no limits. But technology, as we know, is quite, on the contrary, bound to laws of physics and, of course, economics. So I wonder, what is your take on the ethical issues that actually have this advancement of the new technology and what it brings up? How are we going to tackle it on the society level, like people who can access technology and those who don't possess access to this technology? Are there some considerations that our audience might find useful that you can share?
I can start if I have sound. I think, of course, ethical issue is one of the most debatable one, because who has the power over how to design this technology and for whom and in which way. I think as far as it is transparent discussion, conversation between big giants like Facebook and Apple, it might be fine. Another way of thinking also, once we drop the price and democratize technology, it could be really affordable. I'm waiting for Apple. I mean, still, we can blame Apple for high prices, but a lot of people on this planet, they have iPhones, right? Despite the fact that they might not fully afford it, but they really do efforts to get this technology. So it means that once like company like Apple will launch their like AR glasses, I think the prices will start to drop because the market will grow like dramatically. And we kind of need to wait this point when we can get to the market drop, democratization of technology, and then we will have a broader audience to address all these ethical issues. Because for now, yes, it's very elitarian technology with a lot of price behind, but I think it will change within the next 2 years.
Thank you. Krista.
Well, what comes to the accessibility, there has been a lot of thinking that when something happens in the virtual reality, you have to bring that experience to the audiences that follow that experience also from desktop and mobiles. So not only virtual reality or mixed reality, but those experiences have to have at least for the time being, larger audience, and that can be accessed by more traditional screens like desktop. But what comes to the ethical things is that I have had a lot of in my mind that I see the trend that biosensors and virtual reality are coming more and more together. Like you can track your emotions by tracking your eye tracking, your pupil dilations, or your skin conductivity with the different kind of sensors in your hands. Or even the technologies combined to brainwave measurements. So at the moment, I'm very, very excited about, because you can create the new forms of storytelling, that the storytelling doesn't change how you click on buttons, but how your emotions are changing. For example, if I'm stressed, the storyline can, and it has been, I've been seeing one experience, changes according to your emotions. But of course, when you are starting to track your emotions and store that data, that's the kind of most private data what you can have. And that's the scary point, that who owns that kind of data.
Exactly. It was very interesting recently, a backlash about Facebook announcing that Oculus would be only connected and accessible with a Facebook account. So many users don't have so much trust into the privacy policies of Facebook and would not want to connect their gaming life or their work life with this type of data collection, which they don't yet understand. So our gaze will be analyzed, or has a potential to be analyzed, and the different type of triggers, what we see in simulation, can also be then connected to our real performance at work, and vice versa. So it's very interesting.
And advertisers.
And the advertisers.
You think about the possibilities to adjust advertisers according your emotions. That's super powerful and scary.
So thank you very much for sharing some of your insights. And I wonder if there are any questions that the audience would have, or, for example, if you would like to share with us, if you are the users already of virtual or augmented reality. For example, have you played the Pokemon Go, or tried the AR tattoo, or tried Nike shoes with the AR functionality of your phone? Or do you see that there's still a bit of time for the adoption to happen on the mass level for the consumers? And meanwhile, while you are thinking about the questions, I'll moderate from the chat, but is there anything else that you feel important and you find that there has been a change this year exactly? Because we know the situation, so it's like an elephant in the room. We have been in a lockdown. We're not in a real conference right now. So do you see this as a jump start for the actual rise and adoption of VR and AR and immersive technologies to come? Or how has it felt in reality for you? Because projections are interesting, but is it actually happening, what you already see now, that businesses or consumers are starting to use more of these virtual technologies?
Can I start, or do you have something
Please.
on your mind, Elena? I've seen both good and bad happening. So the sales went up of the base stations and the headsets, because of people want to spend more time at home. But also the VR and AR companies have been recently suffering a lot. So some businesses are going up, but also, of course, this is hard time for every company, but it's affecting on both. And as I felt that the adoption rate hasn't been that great that I thought, or everyone thought the market is going like skyrocketing. It's a little bit, the curve is not skyrocketing. It's coming, but not that fast as the people who work in this industry previously thought so.
Exactly. Thank you. Elena, I think your sound again needs jumping off and on, because we do not hear you. But when Elena comes back, there are some questions. So let's see. Elena, please share with us.
I see Neda. Hi, Neda. Really nice to see your question. I think we spoke a bit about retail. I think in general, and coming back to Ksenia's question, I will merge these two. I mean, it's too short time of the crisis to actually understand the need for the new tools and new kind of extensions. I think if we can spend a bit more time at home on the lockdown, then we can really start to suffer for vacation, for travel, for space planning, for retail, for medical support. I think most of the services which we today use both physically and digitally will shift more and more to digital and virtual space. And talking about banking, I think all these services will have financial platform to pay and to work with money. So I think that banking will be on the backside of operating all these virtual services. And I think that's kind of one way of thinking. Another important issue to understand that cognitive part of us will require changing the reality around us. And if we will be locked, I mean, we had a very nice discussion with Guardians, which made a big VR project about prisoners, how they spend in the prison, how they can change reality. It was a neuroscientific project about understanding people who are locked in one space. And believe me, it's one of the biggest things I don't want to consider us as a prisoners, but it was kind of, especially not in Scandinavia, but in many countries, people were locked at home. And if you can't really change environment for something, you might get a lot of mental pressure. What means that we are coming to the time when we need to prototype faster priority 1 services, priority 2 and 3, like which might be like health and like education and working environment, which will be virtualized. Like priority 2 is entertainment, culture, personal development, all this yoga and sport in virtual environments, and then will be filled soon.
Thank you. That's great. Was there anything, Krista, that you had in mind about the banking sector? I have a few ideas, but please go ahead.
No, I haven't actually seen anything on the banking sector, but I know that people who invest in cryptocurrencies are using virtual reality, that you can have an endless amount of screens around you, so they like track the traffic because it's moving. It's so volatile, the cryptocurrencies.
So data visualization. That's very interesting.
Maybe I can also add a little bit to Neda. So I think the financial stability of country, nation, like, I don't know, world depends on how well do we work today, how well business is operating today. And if, for example, a company which is based on like supply chain operation can't operate today, like when factories should be shut down, we can't like really foresee great economy. So I think one of the like a macro scale thinking about like banking involvement to this thing is thinking about how to use technology to support businesses to continue their processes without interruption. Because I'm part of the several industrial R&D projects, and they couldn't operate because they needed to shut down their factories here in Europe, which means that physical world might influence on the economies. And I think if bank as an institution want to support like economical stability, they need to be ready to help their clients not to shut down their businesses.
Yes, and one additional case is also for the banks, because they're engaged in real estate quite a lot from many perspectives, and being able to show remotely the new projects which are being built and take the customers, for example, on the virtual tour of the facilities, so they could plan, or even if it's being just an apartment for sale. That's one of the interesting cases to use the virtual reality as well, with financial element in it. But we are out of time right now, so we'll hang out here still for some time in the chat, and we're very happy to take your questions if you have any, your comments. Thank you so much for active participation. Shout out to Vladimir for ideas and the references. Thanks a lot. So dear speakers, ladies, thank you for sharing your insights with us. And there is no doubt that immersive technology has potential to give us superpowers already now, and even more so in future. But there are, of course, a lot of questions that still need to be answered. So let's do it all together. And that's pretty much, for me, is exactly what makes it so interesting, this new technology and the social aspects of it. So thank you. And please reach us via all the possible social platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. And if you're interested in the topics of VR and AR, next week, I have to mention, there is also VR SciFest, which will be in Stockholm physically, and also online. And Elena is organizing it for several years already, and it's going to be quite an interesting experience to open up a little bit more in depth, and also get the chance to try some of that. And follow Krista's new adventure, EventuallyXR, for usability of the future immersive technology. And we're very happy.
Thank you. Thank you, Ksenia and TietoEVRY, for always being active in the like coolest technology and being on the edge. Thank you.
And as the last point, check out TietoEVRY Lab. We're on Twitter, have the website. You can check the projects we're doing with B2B sector, and we're happy to get in touch. So thank you for being here. Have a great afternoon, and see you at the after party.
Always happy to link in with people. So.
Yes, and there were some questions about the filters and how we use them. So maybe for those who stick around, a very, very small tutorial. You search for Snap Camera, and this is a virtual camera. So it actually allows you, when you are broadcasting your video from your device, to switch between the camera on device or the filters that you can select from hundreds and hundreds. So it's as simple as, turning it on and off is just the program that is being installed to your computer, and you can impersonate like anything really that you want. So it's an interesting tool, it's a fun tool, but also it allows to test different personalities and showcase yourself in a very different way. So I hope that's a good takeaway for all of you and will make it interesting. Good. Thank you.